everyone. Welcome to the Enterprise Mobility Insight Outlooks podcast. I'm Gina Daniel Lee, Vice President, Strategic Alliances and Partnerships at Stratix, and your host of today's session. Today's topic is all about supply chain, that subject that is top of mind for most people, whether you are in technology or simply a consumer. It impacts us all. Experts are saying that problems are expected to continue for at least another year. What began with factory shutdowns caused by the pandemic has been further complicated by changes in consumer spending and bottlenecks in transportation. And while some challenges like shortages of raw materials will just take time to resolve, many logistics problems can be resolved through better supply chain visibility. When you have an end-to-end view of what's going on, you can be more proactive in solving problems that create new efficiencies. Is there a way to get a holistic view? Well, let's see. First, you need data, and one of the best ways to gather it is when mobile devices are used throughout the supply chain. For today's discussion, we're bringing in two of the biggest names in logistics transformation, Zebra Technologies and ScanSource. I'm really excited to be joined today by John Worthland, who is Industry Principal for Manufacturing, Transportation, and Logistics with Zebra. And from ScanSource, I'm joined by Ryan Tofflin, VP of Sales, and Lindsay Draus, Zebra Business Development Managers. Hi, guys. Welcome, everyone.
Hi, Gina.
Hi. Hey, Gina. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you guys. And I think this is the first time I've had three people on the podcast. So this should be fun today.
Absolutely.
Let's start by having you introduce yourselves to our listeners and telling them a little bit about yourself. John, why don't we start with you?
Sure. Hey, thanks, Gina. I really appreciate being part of the podcast and love our partnership with these great folks from ScanSource and Stratix today. So I'm a subject matter expert or industry principal for manufacturing, transportation, logistics here for North America. And what that does is that leverages, I have a logistics background as well as an IT background on infrastructure and application development. And now that I have a very good understanding of our solutions that Zebra has to offer, as well as our partners, I basically partner with our sales team and our customers at a strategic level, trying to understand what those disruptors are in the industry, like we're going to talk about today, and what are some relevant solutions that they should look at.
That's great. And Ryan, let's hear a little bit about you and your role.
Thanks, Gina. And to echo, excited to be here. Love the partnership with Zebra and Stratix. It's a wonderful conversation and certainly something we've all been dealing with every single day. And so I'm VP of Sales at ScanSource, and I've been in a sales function at ScanSource for about 15 years now. And one of the best parts about ScanSource is that we're sort of always trying to connect the dots between what Zebra's trying to create and deliver and what our partners need to receive and execute upon. And so we're constantly in that middle space, navigating and communicating about the needs, the challenges, and the opportunities. And so I love solving those problems, and I love the opportunity to talk about them today here in front of everybody.
That's great. And last but certainly not least, Lindsay, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, Gina. I'm super excited to be here with you. Definitely John and Ryan for sure. Love the continued partnership. So I'm a Zebra Business Development Manager here at ScanSource. I've been on the team for 6 years, dedicated to Zebra through ScanSource for all 6 years in a vast number of roles. So really my job as a business development manager is to help our partner community solve their problems, their solutions, involving the Zebra solutions, big picture strategy. Really, there isn't a task that's too big or too small from my standpoint. So again, external facing to our partners, but also work really closely with our Zebra teams as well as the ScanSource teams that roll up under Ryan. So super happy to be here.
That's great. Thank you for that. So let's jump in. And I'll start this first question directing it to John and Ryan. So the pandemic seems to have moderated, but why is supply chain still such a problem today?
Well, yeah. So I think overall, our customers are trying to modernize, right? We've seen through the last couple of years, unprecedented amount of customers trying to deal with not only a labor shortage, but an increase in demand. And really, labor shortage is top of mind with every conversation I have. And modernization going from, a lot of our customers are still using spreadsheets. They're using data entry, to receive pallets in the warehouse. They're using some handheld devices, some mobile devices. But really what we're finding is that we're trying to get more information in line with that user, that edge customer. So mobile devices and going towards more sensor-based technology to account for that labor shortage is what we're seeing that. And I would say that it would probably be even more profound, but the chip shortages that a lot of industries are dealing with have sometimes hampered those modernization projects.
Ryan, what are your thoughts there?
So I agree with John. There's a push towards efficiency and modernization that is taking over the world we live in, and that's certainly a challenge as a manufacturer to try to deliver upon that. And I see from our perspective, as we're trying to fulfill demand across many different places in our industry, that buying patterns are changing based upon fear and unknown, and maybe just a sense of, hey, we got to do it better than we did before. We got to be better than we did before. And the result of that is, buying products that are available now instead of just in time as you need them. And so that's putting a lot of pressure on Zebra, right? We see that our manufacturer partners, when partners in the past would and buyers in the past would sort of signal what they needed as their projects rolled out or as needs became realized. And now, if there's opportunity to capitalize on any product, we talk about here products managed and developed by Zebra, but I think this flows into our everyday lives, right? There's something available now. I see it. I think I might need it tomorrow. It might not be available tomorrow. I'm going to buy that now. And that's sort of, exacerbating the supply chain challenges that we all try to manage through to figure out what John pointed to. What components do we need? When do we need them? How are we going to build that product and deliver it on time? Now, forecasting that demand is all over the board. It's as soon as we can get it in, somebody's probably going to buy it. And if you don't want to buy it, somebody else probably will. And that's just a challenge that we're all trying to manage through.
I think you're right. And I'm curious, does having a holistic view help? John, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it sure does. Our customers now are getting smarter about looking systemically across the whole supply chain that they're part of. You think typically, in healthcare or e-commerce, you're looking at the manufacturer, you have a wholesaler, distributor, maybe a 3PL involved, and of course, the end customer. And now more than ever, we're all linked together and we have to share information so that we can deal with different changes along that supply chain, whether it's when is my toilet paper getting in, why is the truck going to be late so I don't have to have workers standing by, waiting to unload a truck. It's supposed to be there at midnight and it doesn't show up till 3 a.m. At Zebra, all our whole philosophy is on, the ability to sense those changes, analyze that data, and then provide actions to our edge users in order to react to that. And more we're getting better and better at that, but it's gathering that information up and down the supply chain that our customers are looking for. And there's a lot of even regulations that are coming out as industry disruptors that are calling for that. You think about the FDA and pharma, they're calling for, making that mandatory. You need to know where products are. You need to know about those handoffs, and being able to capture those data points efficiently is really table stakes right now.
I agree. Lindsay, what's your take on this?
Yeah, so we're really starting to see the community of buyers kind of expand from what we traditionally know them to be, right? Supply chain decisions are now happening all the way up to C-levels down to the consumer. To John's point, supply chain has really started to become a household word, not only in our industry, but also for the consumers. We're seeing instances where forecasting may not have been present in the past. Starting to see everyone start taking risks to either start forecasting or start looking further into the future. To Ryan's comment, forecasting has really started to become the perception of what's needed now, based on not only actual demand, but it's also looking to the future based on what they think they might need. So in turn, it's starting to lead folks to possibly buy whatever's available. We say panic buy, but they truly are they don't know what's coming in the future, fear of the unknown. So I will say forever, the kind of the silver lining all of this is we're starting to see a lot more communication, right? Through organizations, different departments, a lot of creativity and collaboration is coming from it. And it's really starting to happen every step of the way. So I will say that's kind of the really great silver lining in all of this.
I would completely agree, Lindsay. And you guys know from a Stratix perspective, our whole world revolves around mobility, right? So John, talk to me a little bit about how mobile devices help deliver this visibility that we all need.
Yeah, again, it's equipping that edge user, whether they're in a warehouse, in a factory, at a patient bedside, or even a utility worker. It's how do we get information into that person's hands that can actually help them increase their productivity, and providing that information in line with mobile devices in a form factor that works for them is really important. I think that's what's so powerful about the technology today. I mean, there's lots of different ways of getting that data to our workers, whether it's inside the four walls or outside. And then, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But it's really also the form factor, right? Does it work to have a wearable, depending on if you're packing, with a ring scanner, or is it work to have a tablet, in a forklift that's attached to a hand scanner? All those different options are what's interesting. And I think what I really love about Zebra is what Ryan said is, we're able to solve problems with a lot of different, options, whether you're working in a freezer or you're working in a healthcare environment where you need enclosed devices, or you're working in a warehouse where that darn thing's going to get dropped from 10 feet and you want to make sure that you have something rugged that's going to last. So mobility really is where it's at. And that's really important for our workforces now as far as the labor shortages go.
So Ryan, what's your take on, how mobile devices deliver that visibility from a ScanSource perspective?
Yeah, so more users are in need of a device while they work than in the past, right? Mm-hmm. And that creates data, right? And I see it as we used to solve a problem by delivering a mobile computer, right? Hey, we need to make somebody more efficient. Let's give them a mobile computer. Let's give them a scanner. Let's find a new way to do that task. Replace it with a device or make it better, faster, make that user better and faster. And now what we're seeing with the proliferation of mobile devices is the mobile device in the user's hand is giving data to solve all the other problems that we're trying to solve within the workplace. And that's sort of come out of this efficiency need of, I just need everybody to work faster and better because either the pace has gotten faster or we don't have enough employees or we need to consolidate. And what we're really realizing is that we can hone in on that data, right? What Zebra's creating with their software and their products is not just solving one problem, but it's giving visibility to all the other problems that are within our workplace. And that's really the future of like, what do we use this data for? Like, where is IoT going? How can I leverage this? And that's the visibility that mobile computers is bringing, and what the intelligence behind of it that we can see now that we couldn't even see 3 or 4 years ago to solve our future problems and our current problems.
So with visibility comes data, right? And now we've got all this data. How do you crunch it to really dive into the pain points? And Lindsay, maybe you can kick this one off.
Yeah, so when we look at our internal teams here at ScanSource, right, communication between the suppliers and customer is key. Our team is the hub, right? They work to triangulate with all parties internally and externally. So when we talk about supply chain specifically, that's including, understanding what SKUs or families have those longer lead times. How can we focus on the SKUs that don't? How can we consolidate and drive visibility to some of those core solutions that have shorter lead times? So again, to Ryan's point, that data, because things are more real time with mobility out in the industry, we're able to provide some of the alternative options that might not have been available in the past, that are still a great fit and a great solution. Areas of the business that may not have always been looking at that data daily now, because of mobility, have access to that data, and are starting to really pull it from all angles in their day to day, and really helping either from a buying decision or, again, like increase revenue, decrease downtime, things like that, that used to, again, just be household names in our industry. I think everybody holistically is looking across the board at that because of the data.
That's great. So John, a few thoughts from you around this?
Yeah, I mean, we're usually, I talked earlier that I partner with our customers at strategic level. Part of it's understanding what are the customer's objectives, over the next 2, 3, 4, 5 years. And so it's a top-down perspective, understanding that, but it's also a bottom-up. If you go into a particular warehouse, you'll always see KPIs, key performance indicators, graphs, the front door as you're coming in. And that's really how our customers are measuring success. And those are where I take and I understand, the overall objectives and those key performance indicators. And that really helps me understand how can we make that better. And mobile devices are helping to do that. They're helping to make that worker more efficient. And when you talk about these corporate environments, saving 10 minutes a shift for one person, that adds up quite a bit. And those KPIs will show that. And it's not so much that they're trying to beat the KPIs, but they are. But one customer's told me something that I thought was interesting. When you think about the graph, it's kind of wiggly, but they're still making their margins. They really want that graph to be more consistent. And I think these type of mobile devices and rolling those out systemically is what makes those differences.
So let's talk a little bit about 5 and 6G. It seems like that 5 and 6G are having an impact on many of the topics that we're exploring on our podcast lately. But talk to me a little bit about what's coming with 5G and 6G and IoT for the supply chain. And John, maybe we'll send this back to you for the first response.
Sure. So, network connectivity and data are synonymous, right? If you have a worker with a device and they can't get network back and forth in a very quick manner, then number one, it's not going to be adopted, that technology. And number two, that customer is probably going to suffer in somewhat. So we're seeing 5G being very important outside the four walls with delivery drivers. Think about signing, for a delivery, when you get a package at the front door, that information has to be right there. But we're also seeing, 6G and CBRS, which are where customers are putting up those networks, those private networks, in order to be purposely built for applications. One thing I always think about is, when you go to an outside arena or a sporting event, and everybody's tickets now on your handheld. Well, if you've ever tried, Surface. Oh my gosh, that didn't come out very good. Looking at Facebook when you're in a stadium, you don't get very good service. So, these purposeful networks have to be built because you don't want somebody sitting there for 10 minutes trying to get their ticket, validated. That's where the 6G comes in. And of course, IoT with, RFID and things like that. That's where we're seeing that big shift from a worker initiated transaction where somebody has to physically do something or remember to, receive a pallet in, to more of a sensor-based technology is being very instrumental throughout the supply chain to really get that real-time visibility that you're looking for.
So Ryan, what are your thoughts on 5 and 6G here?
Yeah, so they play directly into the future of IoT, right? And what's coming next for IoT, I think, comes out of what we've learned from the pandemic, right? In the sense of if you're in manufacturing or you're within any sort of supply chain environment, we were probably caught on our heels when one manufacturer went down and couldn't provide a part, or one transportation company couldn't deliver on time, or one end user was closed and we couldn't deliver the product that needed to be delivered to that space. And so, the future, I think some of the key things around IoT are sustainable and autonomous supply chains. And that's where all this data is going. And that's the Internet of Things, is how do I build a network, an infrastructure, which may not just be a wireless network, but pieces of technology that fit into my challenge with the data that I now have with everybody using a technology device, so that an autonomous space can fix my problems automatically or make me aware of them before they occur, so that I have the right pieces in place to flex my supply chain before the challenges occur. So I can see that something is going down the road is going to derail my delivery. I can see that the manufacturer is going to have a problem. I already have multiple sources in place, and my supply chain is automatically flexing to solve that problem. And that's sort of a really micro sort of look at what that might mean, sustainable and autonomous supply chains. But that idea can expand upon all of our needs in the data that we have. Where do I have to no longer stop my process because something went a different way? And how do I use the technology and the speed that comes out of that network to automatically flex on my behalf, so that we build efficiency in the future based upon what we've learned in the past?
I think you're spot on. So, John, what are the challenges in managing mobile devices through an enterprise's supply chain?
Well, there are many, and we don't have long enough to go into all of them, Gina. But
Okay,
I think
just the top three.
the things that I think are top in mind, right, are how does a organization manage the image that's on a device, right? You want to have the device locked down so not everybody's playing Angry Birds and having all kinds of security issues, right? So that's first and foremost. These security patches and pushing out new software, that's something that needs to be done centrally in order to really leverage these devices to their end. The other thing is to be able to locate the devices, make sure that they're not going somewhere they're not supposed to. I think we get asked that a lot, is how do I know where the device was? Was it left on a shelf somewhere, or did somebody take a device home that they're not supposed to? And I think one of the things that we've been finding too is that sometimes these mobile devices are getting packed in an order, unknowingly, and so we're finding that having those things tagged, with IoT or RFID sensing, we can make sure that that device isn't going out the door, with everything else and alert somebody. And so those are some of the things. It's software consistency. It's managing that image, because at the end of the day, these are enterprise class devices. And, in order to make those efficient, they've got to be centrally monitored and centrally located.
That's great. Lindsay, I'm interested in your thoughts here as well.
Yeah, so again, to kind of John's point and Ryan earlier, there's more devices out in the field, right? Adding to that challenge that we constantly are hearing of, are devices being lost? Are they walking away? Are employees walking home with them? So we're starting to see a lot more solutions out in the industry, similar to Zebra's intelligent cabinet, that kind of really help manage that piece, right? So the ability for locking cradles or regular cradles with single sign-in, or giving data or access to data to whoever the last employee was that logged onto the device. We have the ability now to monitor battery charges. So you're not, when a shift starts, you're ensuring that there's a full function of that device. You're not having to worry about battery swaps and downtimes. And then with access management systems, it gives you real-time visibility into kind of the status of those components. Are they operating efficiently? So not only are these intelligent cabinets and like storage, but they also, again, are opening doors to create data, and helping a lot of organizations realize they have maybe some bigger problems and challenges out on that shop floor.
Agreed. So there's a lot of conversation today around modernization, right? And I'm curious on you guys' thoughts on this, if the supply chain could be modernized, and if so, how? Ryan, why don't you take this one, then we'll let John wrap it up.
Yeah, I mean, thank you. And this is, really kind of talking to what I was speaking about just moments ago, right? The future of the supply chain will get better, and it's always gotten better because it improves upon itself as information and data comes, right? And so the only way that we're going to be able to deliver better products faster, is if we can continue to see the challenges that lie in front of us, and be able to be nimble and make moves before they come and sneak up upon us. And we went through a lot of those growing pains for a couple of years because we thought we had the right plans in place, and we realized oftentimes we relied on too few parts of that supply chain. We put all of our eggs in just a couple of baskets because it was the most cost effective, the most efficient, or the most dependable as we had perceived in the past. And so the future of the supply chain is multiple sources, multiple ways to develop, multiple ways to manufacture, leveraging the data to flex quicker before the problem exists, and automating ideas and decision making based upon that information instead of just being reactionary and trying to leverage thoughts along the way. And so that data that we have, it's essential that it's harnessed in some way. And so I think the challenge for supply chain next, for it to continue to evolve, is who's going to create the best vehicle to make that data actually autonomous. And so it'll be exciting to see over the next couple of years what comes out of that, and how we can kind of finally get behind these challenges with that futuristic, sustainable, and autonomous supply chain that's right in front of us.
I think that's right. John, wrap us up with this question, if you will.
Yeah, I agree exactly. With everything Ryan and Lindsay have said to this point. I think the devices that we have, and let's just talk about the mobile computers, right? These are like the Swiss Army knives of today. We can use a mobile computer, just as a mobile device for not only looking up information. We have scanners built in that are near or far. We can now do mobile dimensioning with these devices. We can add a Bluetooth connected device to grip to do RFID with that same device. We can Workforce Connect. We can now communicate and just like a PBX with these devices. I think about I'm old, so 20 years ago I was doing a lot with infrastructure and application development, and that's when they said, the web browser is going to be the start of where all the applications are going to be developed to. And we all kind of scratched our heads and thought, well, no, that'll never happen. And I think that's an interesting side note to what we're finding with these mobile devices. Sure, we have our our devices that are meant for a couple different solutions, because that worker is going to use that solution day in, day out. But the mobile computer, the tablet, these devices are not only useful within their own right, but there's so many options that we have that we have now that are evolving. To, again, it's a Swiss Army knife, if you will.
I like that, and I completely agree. Great conversation, guys, and a lot of good insight. Thank you. If you have listened to our podcast in the past, we like to end it with a little bit of fun. So I've prepared a few rapid fire questions for you if you guys are game.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
All right. So, John, what canceled TV show do you wish was still on the air?
Mission Impossible.
Ah, that's a good one.
Oh, that's
why?
my favorites. It's showing my age. Tom Cruise, he took a couple whacks at it, but the original one from the 60s is where my heart is.
I love it. Lindsay, who's your favorite movie villain?
Oh, movie villain. So I will admit I'm not like one of those traditional like superhero. I would say favorite villain right now, not necessarily villain. We just started The Handmaid's Tale, or the last season of. So I'd go with Aunt Lydia. I don't know if anybody's watched it, but like pre her life in this new world called Gilead, she was actually like a family lawyer. And then her position or her role that she's in now, she's like the rule follower. And so she's just kind of torn between following the rules, but then also wanting to be ethical. So I kind of feel like we all maybe can identify in one way or another, personal, professional experience. So she's who comes to my mind right now.
Okay, I like that. And Ryan, I think we've had some debate on this one, but I'm interested to hear, would you rather own a yacht or a private jet?
Jet all day long. I got too many problems to solve. I want to get there quick. I want to see the world fast. I don't want to be stuck at sea, taking the slow route to the next place.
The slow boat.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would be great, but I'm not ready to slow down yet and get on that yacht. So put me on a jet, get me to that next place, move quick.
There you go.
I'm with you. Save me a seat, Ryan.
You got it. First class all the way. Yeah.
There you go. There you go. Guys, it's been great to have you. And I love the format with 3 people. We might want to do that again. Thank you so much for joining me and for sharing your expertise and your insights with our listeners.
This was great. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Thank you. We loved it.
Great. And listeners, if you liked what you heard and would like more information or would like to sign up for future episodes, please visit stratixcorp.com/podcast to subscribe. We'd also love it if you would rate and leave a review for any podcast that you've listened to or suggest any future topics you would like for us to explore. Until next time, goodbye.